the Laramie Youth Council, October 26, 2021. And again, thanks everybody for being here. And City Clerk, if you would do that roll call.
Sharon Cumby.
Here.
Pat Gabriel.
Here.
Brian Harrington.
Here.
Erin O'Doherty.
Here.
Fred Schmeckel.
Here.
Brian Schuster.
Here.
Andy Somerville is not with us tonight, or at this point anyways. Jane Pierce.
Here.
Paul Weaver.
Here.
And I forgot to do, as the city manager suggested, if Ward 1 members would just raise your hand. So we have 3 Ward 1 representatives, Andy Somerville, Fred Schmeckel, and Brian Harrington. Ward 2, would you raise your hand? So in Ward 2, we have 3 council members. We have Paul Weaver, Jane Pierce, and Sharon Cumby. Ward 3, if you'd raise your hands.
How many wards do you live in, Erin?
Just Ward 3. I was just excited about the hand raising.
Second and third wards.
So in Ward 3, we have Erin O'Doherty, Brian Schuster, and Pat Gabriel. For Youth Council, we have our Vice Chair, Sam Alexander. I'm not sure if he's with us tonight. I'm not seeing his hand. Our member, Rowan O'Birdsley. Our Chair, Anna Chen. Beth Ferris. And, oh, there you are. Okay. Our Secretary, Sophia Gomolski. Tanner Hyde. Marcos Johnson Noya.
Here.
Samuel Johnson Noya.
Here.
Hannah Parkin. Ava Reese. And Ava wasn't able to join us tonight. She had a basketball commitment tonight. Anna Raisler. Here. Marin Sims. And Marin is our treasurer. Lena Wollick. And Wolf Wollick. And I don't see Wolf with us tonight. So that is your youth council. Janine, did you want to do a short introduction?
Thank you. I think we're ready for the council to move to recess. And so I'll let the mayor do that. And then the city clerk and I can kind of walk everybody through the presentation tonight. And hello, I'm Janine. I'm the city manager.
Council members, the chair needs a motion to recess into the small group.
Oh, good.
Hope it's not up too loud.
No, it's not.
So move, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Schmeckel. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Harrington. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand, or both.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. So we'll now recess into the small groups, and I imagine the city clerk will be providing you a link for your group.
So we've prepared a little exercise tonight to just sort of facilitate some conversation. We'll do this in small group, which is the reason that we needed the full group of the City Council to recess the public meeting. We have identified 4 groups that we'd like to break you all into, Youth Council and City Council members. Prior to this meeting, the Youth Council came up with some questions for you more seasoned and elected officials. And so as you break into those groups, that you're assigned to, you'll also be assigned a question. You have 3 tasks to accomplish in your subgroup, and you'll have 10 minutes to do it. The first task is you need to identify a member in your group from the Youth Council who can be your group reporter. Then the Youth Council members have been asked to introduce themselves to you in 2 to 3 sentences. And then lastly, discuss the question that you've been assigned to and be prepared for your group reporter to come out in 10 minutes and report to the full group. I know 10 minutes is short, but we wanted to make this a hard, fast-hitting, kind of quick conversation, and then we'll come back to full group and share all of our findings. So the city clerk is sharing screen and showing you which group you've been assigned to, and you'll be able to click over into that subgroup. For members of the public, you're welcome to join any of the groups you'd like or none of the groups, whichever is your preference. Nancy, anything else?
I think that's it, City Manager. If I hope that works for everyone, they should be able to select a group to go into.
Would you give the
public?
Would you give the public an idea of how long we're doing this? I believe you said
10
This
minutes.
exercise is 10 minutes. Councillor Cumby, did you have a question?
Yes, I clicked into the subroom really quick and then had to come back. And now I don't see an option to get in there. To get in my group.
Okay.
I think the city clerk's looking into that. She's running the background here, so
Thank you very
we'll give her a second to set that up.
So I'm wondering where I need to click to find the groups.
Is
think
it not
everybody's wondering
displaying us? Okay, let me stop sharing the screen for just a minute and see if that makes a difference. Can you all see them now?
I see it now. Thank you.
Okay. You still can't? Okay. Let me keep working at it here.
Hello. I can't hear anything yet. You are muted. My microphone is on.
Nancy, I inadvertently left the room because I was sitting there alone and I thought I did something wrong. Would you mind sending me another one?
Likewise, I got sent to room 2.
Okay.
Do you want me in room 1 or room 3?
No. You're right.
Wherever you need me to go. Okay, thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Nancy, mine showed up.
It is.
Mine said room 2, and I went there and it put me right back here. So am I supposed to be in room 2 or 3?
You know, I have you down as 3, but if you
I wondered because Fred would be in room 3 alone, I suppose, with Andy's absence. So maybe I'll head to room 3 if that's good.
Yeah,
Take
that's
the pressure.
fine. Yeah, thank you. Let's see, Pat.
That is group 1, Nancy.
Pat, is there a button on your screen to join that group? Oh, there he goes. Oh, and he's. Pat, can you click back into group 1?
I see no option to do that. I clicked on it and it sent me to 2, and then now I'm back here.
Okay, let me try to put you
Okay,
back
now-
in 1 again.
Now it's saying 2. Okay, now I'll try it.
Yeah, try it again now. Judy, if you wanted to join one of the groups, or Katie, if you just want to let me know, I can always put you in one of those rooms.
Thanks, Nancy. I think I'll just hang out until public comment time, but thank you for offering. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yep.
You're welcome.
I'm just listening.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So Nancy, I started the timer, but I waited till we got everybody in, and it seems like that was about 6:15 when we got everyone into a room. So we'll give it until 6:25. And for members of the public, we do have recessed the public meeting if you've just joined us so that the City Council and Youth Council members could break into small groups to discuss questions posed by the Laramie Youth Council to the City Council. If you do decide you'd like to join one of the subgroups, please just speak up and let the clerk know, and she can assign you. There are 4 groups. They'll come back in 10 minutes, and we will reconvene to the full City Council work session meeting and discuss the outcome of the 4 subgroup meetings in that large group format.
City Clerk, can you hear me?
I can.
Boy, I'd like to. Are you recording the breakout sessions? This would be. I'd be very interested in hearing more about from all of them.
Unfortunately, in this format, we're not able to record all of them simultaneously, which is why they're in subcommittees rather than the whole council. But I'd be happy to put you in any one of the 4 groups if you'd like, Brett.
Well, if they're going to report on them, maybe I can get something from that. But could you throw me into group 1 so I can actually see what they say?
Sure.
City Clerk, it's been 5 minutes. If we're able to give a 5-minute halfway mark notice to our subgroups.
Sounds good.
City Clerk, we're ready for the 2-minute warning.
Thank you.
City Clerk, we've reached our time limit.
Mayor, just as a reminder, as we come back, if you could go ahead and ask the council to bring us back to session, to the work session.
Does anybody else have a Zoom window on top of a Zoom window? That's what I'm seeing since we came back. I think I just have a messed up screen.
I left a little early on accident, folks, but I know the vice mayor is wrapped. Oh,
We waited our 30 seconds or however long it was to get kicked out.
Good job, Nancy, to get everybody coordinated. That was very good.
Thank you. All right, Mayor, it appears that we have everyone back in from our breakout rooms, so we'll hand it back to you to reconvene.
well, I think probably the next step in the meeting is for us to allow for the individual groups to do their out reporting about their discussions. And I think what we should do by way of organization is probably go by just a numerical order of the groups. I see hands. City Clerk.
Mayor, we will need a motion from you all to reconvene from your recess.
So
Okay, there was a motion from
Second.
Councilor Cumby, and I think a second from Councilmember Schuster. And so we'll now reconvene. All those in favor of the motion say aye or raise your hand or both.
Aye.
Hi.
Right. All those opposed, same sign. There is no vote in opposition. So now we'll reconvene. And then City Clerk, City Manager, I wonder if what we would do now is just go to the reporting out from the groups, just in order, and have Group 1 followed by Group 2.
Yes, that's correct. So Group 1 will go first. Just to remind you, we have 20 minutes allocated for this exercise, so that's 5 minutes per group. And I'm the assigned lady that keeps track of the clock, so don't hate me. I'm just managing the clock. So Group 1, whoever's your spokesperson is welcome to report.
And for those students that need to leave for orchestra, feel free to. We appreciate you being here for this portion of the meeting.
yeah, and enjoy yourself tonight.
Yeah, you're excused. You have council members whenever you need to leave. We know everybody has a lot on their schedule, so leave whenever you need to. Why don't we go to whoever the spokesperson was from Group 1 for whatever reporting out they'd like to do, and feel free to take all of the 5 minutes or less, just depending on whatever you're comfortable with or whatever you have to share.
Okay, I think we were Group 1. Yes, okay.
Good.
And I do have to leave after this. I apologize in advance, but I will go over what we talked about. The question that we had was, what was it like running for public office? What worked, what didn't, what challenges were there? Representative Pat Gabriel shared with us that he had been on the school board before him running and was the county commissioner. And so he had been running for his second term, and that this involved a lot of face-to-face campaigning rather than a lot of extensive campaigning in, say, other areas. Then Representative Sharon Cumby explained that she had previous experience in the political realm and how COVID impacted her campaign and how she had to switch from what may be considered more traditional campaigning to different and new techniques. She talked to us about networking and how she placed a lot of strategy over typically how people put money in campaigns. She said that one of the challenges was some of the impromptu forums that she was invited to, where you are expected to impromptu speak and debate, which understandably can be difficult. She told us a lot about her platform, things like mental health and economic development, and how she was introduced to social media and was able to utilize it in a campaign during the pandemic.
Well
Good.
done.
Good job, Sophia.
Let's see, are there any follow-up comments to that since we still have some time from that report? Yeah, I think you'll see that there's a broad range of experience for the different people on council, some with previous experience in some sort of political job or role, and then some without so much. But I definitely agree with all of those comments that were made. I think in a small community, the more direct approach where you're talking to people that you're going to represent is probably one that you'll find that most people focus on. It's certainly different than, say, campaigning for city council in Chicago or something like that. It's just not the same. City Manager, I wonder if we should go to the next group now, which is group 2, right? So just pop up your hand if you're the reporter for group 2. Okay,
Hi everyone,
great.
I'm Anna. So our question that we discussed is if you could change anything about public policy, like more specifically the process of public policy, what would you change about it and why? And in our discussion, we talked about how although the process is somewhat efficient, Representative O'Darty, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, she basically talked about how she wished she had more time to have significant conversations with people about the policy that was being presented. So, yeah.
And I was the only counselor there, so we had the students come up with ideas too.
Anna, did you want to share any of those with us?
I guess we also talked about how we wish that there was more of like an efficient process when prioritizing what issues need to be focused on the most. And more or less, we just talked about how we wish that there was more time. But the process works pretty well as of right now. So,
thank you.
So I wonder if Councillor Schmeckel might want to throw in an MPA answer to this question, because I've got a couple ideas, but I thought maybe we could do, if we have the time, quickly.
Nothing off the top of my head. My MPA is a little dusty.
So
yeah.
So let me just say quickly, having studied a little bit about public policy, I think the big lesson is never give up, because it's always a matter of timing. And sometimes you fail and you just have to keep going. So if you believe in something and you want it to happen, you just keep moving forward, because the next group of council members, the next group of folks that we send to Cheyenne or to the feds, you know, it may change. Something may happen. We have land grant institutions, partly because of Abraham Lincoln, right? I mean, there are things that happen that we talked about for hundreds of years in this nation that finally comes together, and you just can't, you can never give up. So.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think all of the big issues take time. And they're not defined by the individuals that run for office and serve in office. They're defined by the people who select those individuals and whether or not those individuals prioritize the same things that they do. But the large things always take time, and they never really stop. You have to continue refining your approach and finding new solutions to try to solve the problems. That would be my 2 cents on that topic. If there aren't any other follow-up questions, let's go to group 3.
Hi, I'm Marin, and I was the spokesperson for group 3. And our question was, how do elected officials work successfully with people with other political views? Because, you know, with everything going on in national politics, that's a pretty big issue right now. And so we had counselors Harrington, Schmeckel, and Schuster. And one thing that Schuster talked about was that communication is really, really important, just to be able to like sit down and talk in person, not over text or email, with someone and try to come to an agreement. And then we also discussed about how we're all working for the same, like we all have the same purpose. We all love Laramie, and that's why, you know, why the youth council is there and why the city council is there and why we're all doing this. And so it's important to remember that they're trying to come from a good place. And so you shouldn't use personal attacks, and you should deal with them with empathy. And that you know, everyone is human. That's sort of what people have to remember. And then also what was brought up that I really liked was that it's not as polarized as national politics, because we're a nonpartisan council. And it's also important to remember that national politics doesn't always affect local politics, because, you know, they sort of work at different levels, and we make policy for our own town. And so we don't have to be as politicized as them. And then also one thing that I really liked was that we move at the speed of government. So people could wish it was like faster. And I mean, I know I do. I think everyone does. But it is the speed of government, and it can be slow, and projects can take time. But if you put passion into it and if you work hard, then you'll get things done.
Councilmember Schuster.
You're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
There it is. The people that left for the orchestra, I really want a picture, because the one thing he said is everybody is supposed to dress as their favorite Halloween costume. So I think the orchestra picture tonight would be fantastic.
Excellent. Good.
Counselor Schuster, I will try to get you a picture, as I'm going to try to go to the orchestra concert when we complete the youth council item tonight.
Would you share that with all of us, City Clerk?
Yes, I can do that.
Wonderful. Yeah, that'd be good for us to see. We like stuff like that. Any other follow-up? Or anything that anybody would like to add to Group 3's comments? I don't think you'll find anybody here that disagrees with the general spirit of those comments. All right. Well, then we better go to Group 4. And I know from being in that group that our reporter is Sam.
Yes, sir. So I'm Sam, and in our group, we discussed what the mayor and vice mayor felt were the top 2 issues facing the Laramie community. And after talking with them a while, we discussed that ultimately it's hard to pick out 2 specific issues because all the issues in the community are related to one another. And you can't really prioritize 1 or 2 issues, because doing so might cause harm to, or might cause other issues to go unsolved and might not give them the attention that they need and deserve. And we talked about some things like how economic development is ultimately important towards solving all issues, or not necessarily all, though many of the prime issues are related to economics. And so in terms of increasing some of the private sector opportunities and whatnot within Laramie, all of that could contribute to helping solve some of these problems. And yeah, I think that's mostly the gist of what we talked about.
Yes, I think so. Any follow-up discussion about that? Sounds familiar, no doubt, to the members of the council. Okay. I think that gets us through our groups, and I think we're doing okay on time. City Manager, how much time do we have left allocated for this portion of the meeting?
You guys are rock stars, and you are 9 minutes ahead of schedule. So great job, everybody.
And was this the last activity we had scheduled for the discussion portion with the youth council for the meeting? The reason I ask is if it was, maybe we could just leave it open for a few minutes of general conversation around these topics.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's doable, Mayor. Your next item was for your youth council chair to present their priorities, but like I said, you're ahead of schedule.
Does anybody want to ask sort of any general follow-up questions about all of those individual topics that were discussed, try to tie any of them together or anything like that? Okay.
I do.
Councilmember Schmeckel, and then I'll go to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious what our youth council members felt were the most important issues within the city of Laramie these days that maybe we should be addressing.
Yeah, great question. Certainly wouldn't blame anybody for being hesitant. Yes.
I was going to say, Sam Alexander is our vice chair. If Sam wants to take that question, I would be happy to defer to him. Otherwise, I'll fill you in on what their discussion has been this year.
Go ahead, City Clerk.
Oh.
Sounds good. So we did survey the youth council at the beginning of this year when they put in their applications and then also in their interview process. And they had a couple of categories that rose to the surface. Mental health is one that Sam will update you on, even if he doesn't know it, later on. But then they also brought up food insecurity as being a huge concern, as well as drug use amongst our youth. So those are, and suicide prevention. Just trying to, that kind of goes along with the mental health, but kind of just trying to really reach those that are in need right now were the big topics that came up.
Thank you, City Clerk. Rowan, I saw that you had a hand up. Thank you for waiting. I want to let you get your opportunity. Please, go ahead. I'm sorry that you had to wait.
You're good. I just had a question for Councilor Cumby that I ran out of time to ask you. I wanted to ask you what type of questions you were asked at the forums.
Well, it might be what I thought are the major issues. It could be what are my what do I think the city could do for economic development? It might be my views about housing. It was mostly things related to the working of the city and my beliefs about that. Thank you, Rowan.
Thank you.
Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just want to add, a lot of people that intimidates them about running for office because they think, oh, well, I'm not, I can't think on my feet like that and come up with answers to everything that might come up. But you'll know about what issues are most important to you. And also, when you're on council, our staff gives us the background information. We don't all have to be champion debaters. We just have to know, do our homework. And some of us aren't very well spoken. Like, I'm not a person that can just, I wasn't on the debate team, so I don't have the quick, witty response or the proper, wording for everything. But the part on city council is making decisions based on information that you research or that you get from staff. So I would like people to not be intimidated by that part. And some of the questions were like, what's your favorite book? Because the librarian was asking some of the questions. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cumby.
I just wanted to say that many organizations also send you written questions, which is very helpful in helping you think through what you really think. And I think that was a big challenge for me was, gee, what do I think? And how would I say that? And I had to spend a lot of time just writing notes for myself and really searching for what my core beliefs were. So it was a helpful experience for me as well.
And how to say them in 100 words or less, or 50 words or less.
Yes.
How many of our youth council members, you can just raise your hand, do speech and debate? A couple of you. So I did that as well. And an observation that I would share with you is that when you're serving in a public office, a great deal of what we do really is centered around those kinds of exchanges, like they would be in speech and debate. A lot of our deliberation is based on feedback from the public and listening to their questions and then doing our best to follow up on those questions as a part of our job. Now, that's not to say that it's not good practice to, sum up concise points of view quickly, as Councilmember Harrington did, both in written questions and in the limited amount of time we have during each meeting. But a lot of it has to do with the interactions and questions of the people that you represent, more than it does lining up, all the council members on one side of the issue and then another. Very occasionally that happens, but I would say it's rather rare. And usually most council members have a mixture of views on any given issue that are sort of jumbled up and around, and we sort of have to talk to each other and get the feedback from the public and then listen to our staff as we decide what we need to do. So our meetings and our procedures are set up more around the ability to try to do that in some sort of organized fashion. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a little bit different approach. Just something I'd add. City Manager, I feel like I need to keep checking in with you about time, and I wonder if we're getting close now to where we need to go to the Youth Council leadership.
We're ready to go there time-wise, but I would defer certainly, Mayor, if you'd like to take more time for this section. I think our goal was to kind of wrap up this portion or this work session by 7 so that our Youth Council members could be excused for activities.
Yes, okay, so if there's any additional comment, it's not like this is the only time we'll have to listen to it. So you can add now or ask more questions now, or maybe we could move on to the next portion of the meeting. I'll give you a couple of minutes if you want to add anything else. Just show me somehow. You can raise your hand on the screen or on the Zoom program or whatever you want. Otherwise, we'll just move to the next portion. Okay. Everybody wants to be good about managing the time, which is important. City Manager, the next portion of the meeting I think you had indicated was time allocated for the Youth Council leadership?
That is correct. As the clerk said, they've been discussing their goals and objectives for the year, and so this was assigned to the chair and vice chair. Our chair, Anna Chen, has had to leave us, but Vice Chair Alexander is here, and the city clerk can shepherd through this section as well. So Sam, if you'd like to take it, that's great, and if not, let the city clerk know. She'll step in.
I'm happy to start us off, and if I miss anything, City Clerk, please just let me know or feel free to add in if you think there's something else important. So as you all should be able to see on your screen in front of you, what we discussed at the last meeting in particular, though also throughout the year, is to make one of our main goals mental health, but more specifically, raising awareness to mental health, as well as destigmatizing mental health and providing additional resources, particularly to Laramie youth in terms of helping them with their mental health. And some different ideas have been discussed, such as creating mental health days and whatnot. And discussion is still going on and being finalized for some of that before our pitch day in November, where we decide our final goals. Though mental health has been a pretty consistent priority and desire to be a priority among the Laramie Youth Council members. Beyond that, some other things that we've done is Laramie Youth Council has been involved with the Vaccine Incentive Project to help try and spread awareness to the Laramie youth about the Vaccine Incentive Project, what it was doing, and some of the opportunities that vaccinated individuals had to win different prizes and whatnot through raffles. And just to sort of serve as a means to just communicate to the youth about this project that I think the youth didn't know a lot about before and wasn't really aware of some of the things that were going on. And beyond that, the other topic that has been discussed at some of the youth council meetings is with regard to energy, particular solar and wind power, and just what Laramie Youth Council might be able to do to help move toward more solar and wind energy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder if maybe we should set aside a couple of minutes now for any other youth council members to expand or add to any of those priority list items. And feel free to do that. Sort of like we said at the beginning of the meeting, everything's important. And that's what can be so hard about being asked to prioritize. So if there are other things that you wanted to add into that for consideration or possible projects, please go ahead. Or if you just want to expand on what your vice chair stated for us, that's fine too.
Mayor, I have a thought, and certainly we'd just like to share it with council and the youth council and city council. I wonder if there's a possibility of weaving some of our committee work with the Laramie Youth Council in terms of, and I don't, really exactly know where I'm going with this, but maybe a representative from our mental health committee, to have conversations with the youth council and visit with them over the course of the year. Just some updates on some of the current work that we're doing. If we could, I don't know, if we could just interact with some of the committees that we have going on similar issues. Is that a possibility? Part of, maybe I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, I don't know, but have we thought about that?
Vice Mayor, what it sounds like you're asking, if I understand you correctly, is maybe creating an additional goal for the two councils, the youth council and the city council, to try to find some more opportunities to work together on specific topics. And I don't think that's out of bounds at all. I imagine the city manager has considered possibilities around that and doing that, as it's sort of one of the reasons we have a youth council is to do those things. In addition to working with you on your specified projects, we'd also like to bring you guys into our decision making and our public policy process as well. So I think the vice mayor is absolutely right to raise that. And I think it's a good idea. Youth council members, do you want to add anything to that suggestion, or would you like to share a view about that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to just communicate. We really dislike the idea of putting you guys on the spot. So if you need some more time to think about it, that's always fine. But if you want to add to it, go ahead. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to talk to my fellow council members at our next meeting, of course, and then we can make it more formal then. But I think it's a great idea to work between the two councils to solve some of these problems, especially since just the councils can do different things. Like, you'll have more actual budget and authority to do certain things, whereas we have more connections with the youth and issues that might concern them more directly. We might be able to help implement more effectively. And so I think collaboration could just bring a lot of great things.
Thank you. Councilmember Cumbie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that as a member of the Albany County Mental Health Advisory Council and as a liaison to the Youth Council, we had this discussion about mental health being one of their priority interests. And so I did bring that back to that Mental Health Advisory Council. And Dr. Tess Kilwine, Dr. Claire White, and also Councilor Somerville were all quite positive and supportive about continuing to support the interests of the Laramie Youth Council. So there is potential there, and it will depend on what the students, what you all wish to do and the directions. But when we did reach out to people, there is a significant amount of support and people willing to work with you during the next year. And that would bring them in contact with 2 counselors who are engaged in mental health work. So it's a good step, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Cumbie. City Manager, I know that we have about 3 minutes left before we close out the meeting, and I think it probably gives us just a few moments longer to maybe have some generalized comment. I think I would just say to the city clerk and the city manager who are serving as our staff connection between the council and the youth council, to maybe give some thought towards some of these things that have been brought up in the last couple of minutes. I'm sure I have a high level of confidence we can probably come up with some good ways to do those things. I would just open it for any other comments along those lines or about anything else that we've talked about tonight.
Mayor, as a reminder, the clerk does have some closing questions for the group. So when you're done with comment, I think she's ready to post those questions for you.
Excellent. One last chance for kind of open floor here about anything before we go to the city clerk. City clerk, I think we're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the last questions for this evening is the most fun part of this evening. So did you enjoy the poll questions, the small group discussion, learning about the Youth Council goals and objectives, or reports and large group discussion? This will help us kind of gauge next year's activity, what we lean towards more heavily. We have 69%. I'll give it about 10 seconds more. All right. So it looks like the small group discussion was the winner tonight, which is fantastic because I feel like that was a good opportunity to open up and actually have that conversation. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that information tonight. The second question in closing tonight is what did you learn the most about at this meeting? Running for office, city public policy and possible changes, how to work with people of different political views, or the biggest issues facing the Laramie community. And we'll give that just a few seconds here. All right, about 10 seconds more. We have 73%. All right, and it looks like our results show that the biggest issues facing the city of Laramie was the most learned about topic tonight. So thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to be here tonight with the Youth Council. They are a great group of students, and I feel very fortunate to be able to work with them. And so that's all that I had for you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk, and thank you for all the work that you've done with our Youth Council and to the City Manager as well. Youth Council members, I know everybody is getting ready to go on with the rest of their night. I want to just say something that I think the City Council always wants to communicate to our Youth Council, which is that we really find this Youth Council to be important. It's something that we care about a lot and want to make as much time for as we possibly can. As you all mentioned, you have a much closer connection to a part of the community that we don't hear nearly as much from as we need to. And it's really useful for us and important to us to have this relationship and to have this Youth Council and really listen to those things that you bring to us. For instance, although I'm not surprised to hear about the concerns and the prioritization of mental health issues, I am very interested in seeing how much of a priority that it is. And that's just one example of the reason it's important for us to have this group and to be able to have these conversations with you. So we look forward to continuing to do that. And we're grateful for your time and your willingness to be part of the Youth Council. It's extremely important to us, and we're very, very fortunate to have students at the high school like yourself that are willing to step up and take that time and be part of it. Can't say it enough. It's extremely important for us. So we want to thank you for that. Don't think we have anything else to add. So I wonder, City Clerk, if we follow our agenda. I think at this point, I might just provide a small opportunity if anybody else wants to add anything, and then we'll wrap up this portion of the work session. And again, you're not on the spot. It's just if you have a thought, here's an opportunity for you to share it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here and taking time. City Clerk?
Mayor, just as a reminder, with our new rules of procedure, we have a public comment period for every work session topic.
Excellent. Let's open it for public comment now. Let's open it for public comment now. And if you want to just raise your hand so that I can recognize you, you can do that in person or through the Zoom program. It's up to you. Yes, I see Katie Harmon, and we'd like to recognize Ms. Harmon and just provide the floor. It's over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the chance to speak tonight. I'll be quick. I just really quickly wanted to express to the City Council, to the Mayor, to all of you, gratitude and support for the recent resolution that was passed, the resolution in support of local government public health measures. I'm a Laramie native myself. I'm a mom to 3 kids, 2 of whom are students in Albany County School District number 1, and 1 of whom has several disabilities. So I just wanted to express gratitude. I know that there has been a lot of opposition to this resolution, lots of opposition to the school board's decision to mandate masks and to implement other COVID protocols, and lots of opposition to law enforcement's efforts to kind of support those measures. So I kind of wanted to balance out some of that opposition, let you know how grateful I am as a parent of a child with a disability and a parent in Laramie in general for the support that you have shown for community members who are still worried about this pandemic. And I know that I'm not alone in that support. I also wanted to remind the council that people with disabilities have been disproportionately affected by this pandemic. People with intellectual disabilities are 6 times more likely to die of a COVID infection than an individual without a disability. So not only are those with disabilities at an increased risk of death and serious illness, but it can also be difficult sometimes for individuals with disabilities to take the same preventative measures to protect themselves that we might be able to take more easily. So they might rely on their community a little more. For example, sometimes individuals with disabilities might not be able to wear a mask consistently and correctly all of the time, and therefore rely more on their community members and those around them to be masking properly. Likewise, sometimes people with disabilities or certain health conditions might have true medical indications that prevent them from getting the COVID vaccine, or even maybe they're able to get the vaccine, but it isn't as effective in their body. And again, rely on their community and those around them to be fully vaccinated to offer them some protection. And then even measures like social distancing and social isolating aren't always as easy for individuals with disabilities who might rely on service from members of their community, different service providers coming into their home to help meet their needs, and might not be able to keep people out of their homes the same way that some of us have been able to during this pandemic. So again, just as the mother of a child with a disability who's at heightened risk, and the mother of 3 children, all of whom are at this point are too young to be vaccinated, I want to thank you for this show of support to the community, and especially to those most vulnerable in the community, letting them know that their city council has their back, that they aren't in this fight alone, and they can count on their community members to protect them. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to be with us and to share your public comments. We appreciate those public comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'd like to keep that public comment open for another few seconds here to see if there's any other interest in sharing public comment on the work session or non-work session items. Council members, youth council members, I'm going to leave it open for just a few more seconds to give people time. If we don't see any, we'll close the public comment period. Seeing no further interest, we'll close the public comment period. And we will move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is the council updates. And council members, I simply combined.
Paul, it's public comments, non-agenda. The last one was agenda. Now it's public comments, non-agenda.
Correct. And I had invited people to go ahead and jump into those already, but I'll do so again, Councilmember Schuster. I think that's perfectly fine. If there's comments on non-agenda items, we'd like to take those now as well. And again, we'll leave the comment period open until people have time to let us know if they'd like to speak on items unrelated to the work session. But I suppose council members, if folks have decided they would like to make a comment about the previous work session, I'll allow it. Unless there's objection from any of you. I'm not seeing any hands up from our attendees. Leave it open for just a few more seconds. And we'll close the public comment period and move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is City Council updates and council comments. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few updates for you all. Pilot Hill board meeting was yesterday. For the month, they have appointed a few new board members from the county and the board itself. They continue to move forward sort of on a recap of successes of this year and into their sort of budgeting process and other opportunities. They are working on collecting data at the trailheads, running into a bit of an issue with sort of, as all of you know, like at the Boulder Drive access, you can sort of fork and go around the gate on the east or the west side. That is presumably having their count there. So we're going to meet tomorrow with the assistant city manager out there with a few board members to see if we can figure out a way to funnel people through one access at each trailhead. See if we can get a little bit more clear picture of the number of people using Pilot Hill every day, but I would share that the sort of initial information is around 150 people a day are using Pilot Hill, which I think is a pretty great opportunity for our community, and it's exciting that many people are using it. And then let's see, I have at least one more update. The Collective Impact Group put together by the United Way met at the end of last week. And they are, collective impact, of course, is just the framework for which they are holding these conversations. The idea is put all the stakeholders together and then address these bigger issues, largely around social determinants of health. The group has decided, rather than trying to attack all of them at once, as can be quite the challenge, especially for a volunteer organization like this, where everybody's doing it as sort of their extra effort at work or as a volunteer. We're going to pick one. And so that will happen. I think 3 have been selected right now. They're narrowing it down. And I can't remember all of them. I do know mental health and affordable housing are top of list, but only one of those will make it as the final effort for this go around, at least for the initial push. I will be eager to update you all, and I might do so just via email when they have selected one, just so you all know what's going on in that group. And that's my final update for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Albany County Tourism Board met yesterday. Things are going quite well. However, we need a couple of new board members, city appointments. We have advertised for over a month, and we have yet to receive any applications. So if you know of anybody that would like to serve on the Albany County Tourism Board from the city, we have a couple of spots open. And that's about all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Councilmember Gabriel. And yes, we would like to get those appointments filled. Some of these boards and commissions meet more often than others. Councilmember Gabriel, I can't recall, what is the frequency of meetings for those?
Generally, it's once a month. Always the third Monday, but they moved it to the fourth Monday this month. But usually a couple of hour meeting, one time a month.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that update. Councilmember Schuster, I saw that you had raised your hand to be next.
Thank you very much. Got a lot of stuff here, so it's been one of them busy months. Legoland will be coming back to the historical railroad depot, where they put up about a 30-foot by 30-foot professional Lego builders, a lot of railroad tracks, train cars. The depot itself will be putting up 3 different size scale trains out there, and their systems are beautiful. They have so many hours of working on it. They'll have HO, and N scale there. The kids go crazy for this. It's very, very large. And in the back museum part, we will set up 4 different train tracks for the youth to run while they are there, so they can actually play with the train. So that's that for there. Wyoming Territorial Park, we just had our meeting. Their pumpkin walk was the largest crowd they had ever had. I don't know if you drove by when they had it, but they had probably 250 cars on the grass because the parking lot was 100% full. Coming up, going on right now is Ghost Tours. That'll be, it went on last weekend and sold out every tour. It'll be going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this week. We just finished up with our plein air art. We had some artists that came in. It went through the University Art Foundation and sold some art there, and we hope to do it again next year. The greatest one I did not realize they were doing is Haunted Sales Tickets. Now you can buy a ticket to take a tour with a paranormal group out of Colorado. And I probably was being a smart aleck about it. I'll tone that word down, smart aleck, because they bring in equipment, and I kind of joked about the Ghostbusters equipment that you would see on the Ghostbusters. Yeah, they bring in equipment to measure the paranormal amount in there. This winter in December, we'll have holiday trail walks. we had advertised, and they will start doing interviews for a new superintendent. And let's see, the lights will happen again this year that go on the radio station that are timed to the music. Let's see, they will have a drop-off place out there for Toys for Tot. They were asking if we could do a link to the City of Laramie's website that would also include the Territorial Park, Wyoming Territorial Park. And next year, just like Laramie just went through their 150th anniversary, next year will be the prison's 150th anniversary. So we will probably try to do things like the city did and have an event every month to celebrate their 150 years. And that's kind of it. They had some other business where I'm going to contact some contractors for them because they want to do some construction work too, and they are having trouble finding a contractor. So, just like everyone else is. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schuster. I had no idea it was the sesquicentennial of the prison. Councilmember Schmeckel, go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't believe I get to give an update on the Laramie Rifle Range Board after going immediately after Councilmember Schuster, but very pleased to report that they've had a very active year and their membership rolls continue to increase. As of the meeting here earlier this month, they had 899 active paying members. About a third of those were families. They feel that they're an incredibly active recreational facility here in the city of Laramie. They looked at their analysis for when people are using it, and it's a little surprising. It looks like Tuesday in February is just as busy as a Saturday in September for the Laramie Rifle Range, which is not quite where my cold trigger fingers are going to want to be on a Tuesday in February, but it's pretty evident they've had a pretty significant year of effort and investment into the facility, and it's paying off with membership growth. They're going to do pretty good this year on the finances from the look of things too. So pleased that they're making great progress. They are also looking for another board member with an opportunity for a community member to step up and be an active part of this and hopefully shape a lot more new programming coming forward from the program, from the rifle range. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schmeckel. I'll go to Councilmember Cumby and then Councilmember O'Doherty. Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor O'Doherty and I interviewed members for the Advisory Board on Disabilities, Advisory Commission on Disabilities. We had 3 people coming off the commission, and they reapplied for their positions, and which is a really helpful and good thing for the Disabilities Commission. And they were good interviews, and it looks as if we are going to have our board completed. We have our first meeting November the 4th of the new board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cumby. Councilmember O'Doherty.
The Mountain Town Solutions Group that we're a part of through the ICLEI, or I always forget what it's, Local Governments for Sustainability, the subgroup that we're part of, they're keeping us hopping. And today we were invited to a meeting giving us detail about the UN climate meeting that's happening in Glasgow. And it turns out our work, because we're part of ICLEI and then we're using the Clear Path software for the analysis of our emissions, that gets to be part of the data that it's going to be used by the climate scientists and the UN for climate emissions reductions. So it was cool to find out that we're a little cog in that giant operation. So I was really proud of Laramie. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty. That is an interesting thing. Vice Mayor Pierce.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Planning Commission met last night. Basically, one agenda item or one topic related to the dimensions of a lot. And we will probably see that, if I'm remembering correctly, coming to council next week. Planning Commission passed unanimously. It's for R2, R3, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but one of the other zones, And there was a little hesitation regarding the smaller lot size in R2, but like I said, it's still all passed unanimously. So expect to see that soon. We did learn, city planner, I think I can say this publicly since the Planning Commission knows. Matt Cox has resigned and is moving on to a position in Albuquerque. And we have a new planner starting soon. So yay, poor Derek is, pretty crazy busy. So that's it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The yay is not for Mr. Cox's departure, but just that Mr. Teeny won't have to be doing all of that by himself, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I hope that wasn't misunderstood.
Not at all. Just wanted to make absolutely sure.
Right.
We appreciate everything that he's done for us as a member of the planning department. We look forward to welcoming the new person. Other updates? Just briefly, the Civil Service Commission met and approved a selection of new qualified members for positions within the fire department. We'll see where that takes us as they go through the rest of the process. The Vice Mayor and I interviewed 3 applicants for a position on the Civil Service Commission, 2 new applicants and 1 applicant that had applied that has served on the Civil Service Commission now for the past several years, and that appointment suggestion will be coming forward to the council soon. That's all I would have by way of updates. I don't think we need a youth council update tonight, as I assume some of us are probably now up to speed with where we are. All of us are up to speed with where we are. City Manager, I see that you've raised your hand.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to clarify with respect to the planning positions. Mr. Cox is, as Councilor Pierce, Vice Mayor Pierce stated, leaving us, but I would mention to you that the planning division has been understaffed by 33%. And has been trying to hire for their 3rd position. As Vice Mayor Pierce mentioned, they have hired for that 3rd position only to find out that we do have a resignation, returning them to only 2 of 3 staff persons in that division. So we'll be hiring again, basically, for our 3rd position, hopefully.
Thank you, City Manager. That's certainly not good news. The planning department is understaffed, and the planning work hasn't slowed down in any respect. So hopefully we're able to be fully staffed there sometime soon. But that's good information for your council to have. Thank you, City Manager. Other updates, council members? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think I forget over the course of the year or years how much I really enjoy the Youth Council, joining us. And it's just pretty amazing. Just amazing the caliber and quality and interest. So it was a good meeting tonight. I really appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you to the council members that are hanging out, or the council members that are hanging out with us still. And like I said, really looking forward to more collaboration. So thanks.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the city council members for first off, for just making Youth Council able to happen so that we can have this opportunity to help out the community, as well as just for meeting with all of us today, answering some of our questions. I'm sure all of us really appreciate that you're willing to put in the time to work with us and give us these opportunities. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sam. The thanks is I think all ours, but we're really glad to have you here. Councilmember Schuster, I saw that you'd raised your hand.
Yes, I did. Really enjoyed meeting with them. Really like the small groups. If ever they want to meet, I think we could always pull 3 council people together. That way we wouldn't violate any of our own laws about having too many people in one place. And if they wanted to meet a 3-on-3, we could probably even do the 6-foot distancing and go to like a McDonald's and just talk across there. So, you know, they're interested in that. I would even open up a classroom so we could all still maintain our own 6-foot parameters on there if they wanted to. So that'd be something I'd very much entertain for them.
Thank you. Hey, Manager, I see that you still have your hand up, but I think that might be from the last time. Did you want? Okay. All right. Council comments. We've already started that, which is totally appropriate in my opinion. We just expressing some thanks to the Youth Council, which is we should do and we want to do. Any other comments? Let's move on to agenda review. Take a look at your draft agenda. Sam, if you want to look at that draft agenda and ask us about anything that's coming up, go right ahead as we move along. Let's go ahead and take a look at the consent agenda. Council members, you know the drill, and if you have any questions. And the consent agenda, if you're not familiar, and if you are, I apologize. The consent agenda is a list of what the city council and staff have classified as sort of routine items that need to be addressed every month, and those usually fall along the lines of small expenditures that have to be made every month, paying of the bills that the city has to pay, power bills, small ongoing arrangements like that, deeds for plots at the cemetery and things like that. We don't place them on the regular agenda for the same level of discussion and consideration. That said, council members or members of the public can request that things be pulled from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda to receive more discussion and time. And if you already knew all that, I apologize. Council members, I don't see any questions on our consent agenda items. It does look to be very much as I hope I accurately described them, relatively routine group of topics for the consent agenda. So maybe we could move on into the regular agenda now. I'll note, but you're all well aware that we will have to begin our meeting and need to begin our meeting picking up the item from the last business meeting that we did not finish. It automatically rolls over to be the first item on the regular agenda. Any other questions for the regular agenda items? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so folks, just another moment. Seeing none, council members, I suggest that we end the work session and close the work session at 7:30 on the dot, more or less, and we will see you next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Sam, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thank
Good night,
you.
everybody. Thanks for being. Thank
Good
you all
night.
very
Good night,
much.
everyone.